Greetings! I am Jerico from Group 7 E12B. Now for this video, we're going to tackle about our concept paper entitled Climate Change, Adaptation, and Mitigation. Without further ado, let's start with the first part of our concept paper, background of the study.
From change of food production, the floods increasing to sea level are example of climate change. Climate change adaptation is something that adapts the change in climate change and use it as an advantage, using its effect to make it useful and keeping the control of the ecosystem. According to the study of United Nations, climate change is defining issues of our time and we are defining moment. From shifting weather patterns that threaten food production to rising sea levels that increase the risk of catastrophic flooding, the impacts of climate change in global scope and unprecedented in scale. Without drastic action today, adapting to these impacts in the future will be more difficult and costly. According to the study of NASA, climate change is one of the most complex issue we are facing right now. It will take decades or centuries to fix it, and it's still happening right now. It also happen in the future. NASA also added that mitigation is an act of reducing the climate change, just like man-made things to avoid the interference of human to the climate change, just like the solar panels that we use right now.
Next is for the literature review. In here, we included two articles that is referred to our topic. So first, Prevention, Mitigation, and Adaptation to Climate Change from a perspective of urban population in an emerging economy. The article studies about the opinions and knowledge of the urban society regarding the climate change and its effect to our environment. This is greatly helpful for our study because it can help us to show the urban societies how damaging climate change can be. Not only will it affect our environment, but we ourselves may also suffer from its devastating effects. With the knowledge from this article, we are able to inform the urban societies about the climate change and what should we do in the order to lessen the pollutions and we cause our environment.
Effect of droughts in our health, diagnosis, repercussion, and adaptation in vulnerable regions under climate change. Challenges for fortune research. Our country has experienced drought time and time again. It's not only has affected in our health, but to the environment, the agricultural sector, and our water supply, but it may also affect our health. This article shows us the effects of a drought to the human health. With the knowledge of the effects of the drought to our health, we are able to take the proper step in preventing the minimizing its effect.
The problems that we decided to tackle in our paper are as follows. What are the factors that indicate and affect climate change? What are the projects that have been most effective in combating climate change? And what are the things that are being most disputed about climate change?
Now for the objective of this topic, it will give rise to acknowledge adaptation strategy to increase society's stability to climate change. It formulates the prospect of decreasing future economic, environmental, and social costs when the calamities prevail. It aims to develop the system for environmental management programs, which includes policies such as improving national or regional action, protocols for combating climate change, enforcing dynamic monitoring and estimation, enhancing matching strategies as a feedback mechanisms, and promoting adaptation capacity and adaptive surveillance. It also precludes or minimizes the defect it can cause or take advantage of resources that are most needed, because it has been proved that sufficiently planned ahead adaptation actions conserves currency and lives later.
For our methodology, because of the pandemic, the only real reliable sources we had were the textbooks that we currently had from accumulated over our studies, and of course the internet, reliable sources and scientific journals that were available there, as well as chatting nearby organizations that we already knew, and friends, acquaintances, and other people that we could survey for other information.
Climate change does not affect the weather, but also to the beings economically, physically, emotionally, and financially. We can be informed if there's a calamity coming out, but sometimes it is not enough for us to survive. This study, and as a human being, we may not avoid the calamities coming, but we can start to build a better environment for the future. Upon to what happened this year, this study can be a wake-up call to us and spread awareness that whatever we are doing to the environment come back to us. We are motivated by the people who really suffered through vigorous calamities, but this study is not only for them, but for everyone. For us not just to be ready for the approaching calamities, but for us to be able to survive.
When we say climate change, it gives us a lot of thoughts, negativity, and bad things that could happen to us, and we never know that. Every day we are struggling how to solve these problems and dealing with our resources that we have to at least lessen the effects by simply doing simple things and help the environment and ecosystem. We have solar panels that uses sunlight and produce light or electricity. Using an eco-friendly stuffs like electrical bike that uses rechargeable batteries and many more. I collected this data from the website of NASA and also some of observations and idea.
Our purpose is to make a study that informs people of the things they can do to combat climate change, to challenge them to do something about this this problem that we have right now that will not only affect us but the whole world. And eventually, if we do not fight against it, we will be facing long-term negative consequences that we can never change back. Now, how will our study contribute to society? Our study will contribute to society in the same way as all studies contribute to society, in informing them of of the situation that we are currently in and what we have to do in combating climate change. As I've said, climate change is one of the most important, actually the most important problem that we are facing right now as humanity, and trying to make studies in support of that, not just in a sense of this is the effects of climate change, but also these are the projects, these are what we can do to combat climate change. That's our contribution as students in this pandemic for our society, as there are many things in this pandemic especially that we can do to combat climate change. Like, for example, my father has recently started urban gardening, so right outside we have a lot of plants in our garden, so we constantly try to add more plants and sell off plants that we have extra, just so we can not just to cleanse our own air, but to help fight against the climate change. We're also conducting all sorts of seminars on urban gardening in our church and other organizations, and we've consulted with the Foundation, a non-profit organization which continues to educate people on farming, as they also have a farm in Tanay, Rizal, and continue to promote the simple lifestyle and urban gardening.
Climate change is experienced around the world, and some of the effects of climate change are not well known, and some of people are not aware that the calamities we encounter are the results of the climate change. We, as a researcher, we assure that we gather the legitimate information about the climate change. We are accumulate facts in order to This spurs awareness and information to the people with this study. People can be capable of changing and improving their actions to protect the environment and reduce the hazards of calamities to the mankind.